add to Vicky's list of names because it's a wonderful thing. And what I perceive out of it is how many of the big stars that most of us knew in the 30s, particularly the 40s and 50s, the big top name stars started in these plays that were done in Atlantic City. A show didn't go to Broadway until it came to Atlantic City first. It played in B.J. Keith's Theater on Garden Pier, the Nixon's Apollo Theater, or the Globe Theater. And if it was successful, it went to Broadway. But the bit actors and actresses that performed in the 20s and 30s were, the names are uncanny, and I'd like to add some of them to it. Walter Houston, Spencer Tracy, Ronald Coleman, Charles Pickford, Edward G. Robinson, Jeanette MacDonald, Clifton Webb, Humphrey Bogart, Billy Burke, Clark Gable, Joan Blondell, James Cagney. Bit parts in Atlantic City, a part of our rich heritage. One other quick feature I'll throw in, the fact that entertainment-wise, we at one time on Absecon Island had 20 movie theaters going on. Just something for you to think about.
Well, you know, you mentioned Joan Blondell. Joan Blondell was Miss Dallas in the 1927 Miss America. Her name was Joan Rosebud Blondell. But I had the pleasure of once interviewing her on Candy Jones' radio show when my book came out. And she told me she was married to the great impresario Mike Todd before he married Elizabeth Taylor. And she told me that Mike Todd loved to come down here in the wintertime and go to the auctions. You know, we had all those great auction houses. And she told me a story where he went in, she liked to go to see the fortune tellers. You know, we have a history of gypsy fortune tellers being down here since the 1800s. They're very much part of our community. And so she wanted to go to see the fortune teller, and he said, "Oh, don't take long, I'll wait here." And then finally he came in and he said, "Let me talk to her." And he stayed in there, and she said it was hours. And she finally looked in, and they're playing gin rummy.
In Atlantic City, of course, there was that great Club Harlem. But before there was Club Harlem, there was a place called Fitzgerald's. Fitzgerald's was an old dance hall right in the same location where the Club Harlem located back in the late 20s. And what happened was Fitzgerald's, you could go in and dance all night long with a band of about 50 people for guess how much money? 50 cents. 50 cents it cost to go to the old Club Harlem. And some of the people who came to Club Harlem from Philadelphia, New York, all over the East Coast would come for a very important show. And it was called the what show? Breakfast show. Was anyone ever been to the breakfast show? Okay, we have a couple of breakfast shows, including myself. And 6 o'clock in the morning. And the knockers, they used to come on a bus from what?
The big thing was the folks were dressed to the nines.
Yeah.
They were dressed in suits and tuxedos and evening gowns,
yes, sir.
all going into the Club Harlem. And then at 9:30 in the morning, when they would walk out, I remember somebody telling me, he said, "They got a religious group of people in Atlantic City." I said, "Why?" He said, "Those people going to church, they really dress."
He's such a delicate thing, but when he stops in the squeeze, you'd be surprised. He doesn't look very strong, but when you sit on his knees, you'd be surprised. At a party or at a ball, I've got to admit that he's nothing at all. But in a Morris chair, you'd be surprised. Mary continued to praise Johnny's remarkable ways to the ladies. And you know advertising pays. Now Johnny's never alone. He has the busiest phone almost every other day. A new girl will say, he's not so good in the house, but on a bench in the park, you'd be surprised. He isn't much in the light, but when he gets in the dark, you'd be surprised. I know he looks as slow as the